let's just do a little sit down chit chat kind of video. We're going to be talking about my year in review, 2019, all the fun things that happened to us as a family, me personally, just some random stuff that I wanted to kind of discuss as an end of the year, New Year's celebratory video. So let's hop right in. So maybe the biggest thing that has happened this year in 2019 is that I have transitioned to being a stay-at-home mom. At the end of 2018, I started working a lot more part-time, and I started babysitting for a friend of mine, and that also took place at the beginning, like the first half of 2019, and then I worked a little bit part-time, quit babysitting, and decided I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I was going to stay home all the time. So I feel like I've had a very smooth transition to that because I went from like full-time to like part-time and like super part-time, and I tried the babysitting thing, and then I like went back to just work for part-time, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna be home. So I feel like I got to feel it out a little bit and see if this was really what I wanted to do, and I got to transition a little bit into the role and not just like cut off like full-time working mom to like staying home all the time mom. I feel like I'm very lucky that I got to like feel it out and transition a little bit more smoothly. So I feel like that's been a relatively smooth transition. One thing that I've super enjoyed is being able to go to parks and get out with the boys and go and be active and like exercise. I had like a desk job where I just sat there and did nothing all day. You know, I got like 3,000 steps a day. Like I was doing nothing with my life. So being able to get out and go for walks and go to the park and like be active and do stuff with the kids has been super awesome. So another thing has been the transition from having a baby and a toddler to having 2 toddlers. After Eren turned 1, it was like a totally different story. I feel like, my oldest is only 3.5, so I don't have like teenagers and stuff, but I feel like every age is difficult for very different reasons. Like maybe a baby's easier in this way, or maybe a toddler's easier in this way, but like overall I feel like they're all gonna be difficult for different reasons throughout their life, right? So the transition from being a little baby to a toddler has been like crazy. Having 2 toddlers is like legit, like they're just so crazy. They're always trying to kill each other. They're like always fighting over toys and just like wrestling, and Eren hates Calvin sometimes because even if Calvin just like touches him, he gets so offended by it. It's just like, it's ridiculous. It's just very different than having a baby and a toddler. So we built the boys a fun sandbox this year. It doesn't have sand in it. It has little gravel like at the park or something, that it has like little tiny baby pebble rocks in there. So I do find little rocks occasionally, but the boys love that sandbox. They love being outside, love playing out there. We also did some landscaping this year, actually like putting in mulch and like planting flowers and stuff. Like we've lived here for 4.5 years. And this is the first time that we've had any kind of like landscaping going on, so it's been really nice. It actually looks like somebody lives here instead of it being like an abandoned building. Along with that, we did put in our first garden this year, and I learned a lot of stuff this year from our very unsuccessful garden. We had a big spot. Okay, I don't know if you would call it big, maybe a 10 by 10 area, and maybe we were only using about like 2 little rows out of this, maybe a 1/5 of the area. Like I planted some stuff that I shouldn't have planted at a particular time, and I learned the next year is gonna be way better. I can't wait to have a garden next year. So it was super fun to have our own first little garden. That was like a lot of fun. We did get a lot of like tomatoes, and we did get a decent amount of like, I had Swiss chard and stuff, and basil. Like we did okay, but it could have been a lot better, and I can't wait to do it better next year. We also planted some trees, some fruit trees at the property, which on the other side of town, my dad owns some property, and my sister lives out there and my dad lives out there, but there's also other lots out there where me and my other sister will move one day. Our plan is like maybe 5 years down the line. So we planted some fruit trees out there at the property where we will be living in the future, because fruit trees take several years to actually be producing fruit, right? So we were like, hey, if we're gonna live at the property in 5 years, why don't we plant some like apple trees and stuff, and then by the time we get out there, they're gonna be closer to actually producing apples and stuff. So we planted a golden delicious and a red delicious apple tree, and then we actually planted 3 pecan trees in the backyard, because pecans are pretty much the only nut we can grow in this area, and I really wanted to have some kind of nut tree. So that's what we have out there waiting for us. One day, hopefully, they will all survive, or at least some of them will survive, and we'll be able to, you know, reap the benefits of these fruit trees that we have out there. So that was actually a really cool thing. Like, just, that was probably like one of the big steps, like first steps that we've made toward actually getting out there. Like, we've talked, like, we're gonna be out of the property in a couple of years, or we're gonna be out in the property in 10 years or whatever, but like actually planting those trees, like, really, to me at least, made it feel like much more concrete. Like, it made me feel more like this is actually attainable. We're going to get out there one day. So one sad thing that did happen this year is that my cat died. I had her for 13 years, and she died on Halloween Day. And it's been weird having what feels like kind of an empty house. You know, we have the 2 kids this is definitely not an empty house, but just not having a pet is like definitely different. Like, I've always, like, ever since I was little, we've always had some kind of pet, whether it was just like hamsters or something. It's just been a different transition. Like, anytime I'm like laying in bed and I hear like a creak in the house, I'm like, but it's not Nami. So it is really sad, and it has been kind of difficult, especially like seeing the boys. Like, not that Eren really understands, but Calvin definitely gets it, and he'll say, like, randomly, he'll just be like when we were putting up the Christmas decorations, he saw this little cat ornament and he was like, oh, it's like Nami. And then he'll say things like, oh, it's okay. Or mommy, he says like, mom, do you miss Nami? Like, it's just like all these little things that like randomly remind him of her. That's like super duper weird to me. It's like, just, it's interesting that he even like thinks like that at this young age, you know? So it has been hard, and we don't really want to get another pet anytime soon. We kind of want to wait until the kids are bigger, and we do want to have more kids too. So we kind of want to wait till they're a little bigger too. So we don't have any plans to get another pet, but I think if some random aunt or uncle came up with this little cat and was like, she needs a home, I think we would take her. So we did take our first family vacation this year. We actually took our first like big family vacation. Like, me, my sister and her husband, my other sister and her husband and their 2 kids, plus our mom and dad, plus us and the boys, you know. It was a big family vacation, and that's the first time we've ever done anything like that. It was a lot of fun. It was actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be, because I just envisioned like everybody getting on each other's nerves, especially with the little kids. You know, I have my nieces who are like 11 and 8, and then Cal, who's 3, and Eren, who's 1. Like, I just felt like there was gonna be some situations, but it actually wasn't that bad. So Eren was kind of difficult because he did not like the ride down. It was super sunny, and my husband doesn't have tinted windows all around, and so anytime the sun was even like anywhere on his body, he was pissed about it. He was like not having a good time on the drive down. It took us like 3 hours longer than it should have on the drive down. And then while we're down there, it's like the first week of October, and it's still 90 degrees every day. And so it was super hot, and I had Eren in his little backpack thing, and he's not having a good time because he likes to take naps, and with everybody running and doing stuff, he cannot take his naps properly. And so he was not in a good mood, which put me in a not good mood. And so there were times where I was like, this sucks. But overall, looking back, honestly, it was actually really nice. Like, I definitely thought it was going to be way worse than it was, and it actually wasn't that bad. So lastly, the last kind of dumb thing I want to talk about is my haircut. I cut my hair around my birthday, maybe in August, end of July or August or something. I feel like that's when I cut it, and it feels like it's growing so slow this time. I do like to cut my hair every couple of years. That's just something that I do. I like to chop it all off and donate it. And I donated it to Wigs for Kids this year, or Children with Hair Loss. Those are 2 different places that I alternate donating it to. But I chopped it all off, and I actually, for the first time ever, I think, I regretted it. Usually when I chop it all off, I feel so fresh and happy and like, oh, I can do all kinds of styles in like 2 seconds, and it's not gonna be a big deal, and it's like so much easier to take care of. And this time around, I like was not happy. Like, I was like, why did I do this? Like, not that I cried or anything over it, but I was definitely not as happy as I usually am. I just like it short. Well, in the past. I've liked it short, and then I like to grow it out really long and then chop it all off and go back to short again. And so I liked it when it was really short, and I liked it when it's really long, but I like hate the whole growing out process. And I don't know what it was about this time when I chopped it off, but I just like was honestly less happy than usual about it after a while. It's just like, I don't know, I feel like I almost have to do something with it when it's short, whereas when it's long, I could just like put it up in a bun, or I could like braid it and it just be like taken care of. Whereas when it's short, like it's just like doing its own thing all the time. So I don't know. I feel like when I was young and I would cut my hair short, I felt like it made me look older. You know, when I'm like 19 and I cut my hair, I'm like, oh, I look like I'm over 21, right? But now I feel like it makes me look older, and like I don't want to look older, right? I'm 28 years old. I don't want to look like I'm 30. So I just like don't like, I don't know. I'm just not a fan. I want to go back to long. So I tell my husband every time, don't let me cut my hair. And he tried to warn me this time, but I always do it anyway. And so I said, next time for real, don't let me cut it unless I'm gonna cut it like at a reasonable length. Like I just don't want it like super short anymore. I don't know, just part of getting older, I guess. So I feel like we've just been rambling and talking about random stuff this whole video, but that was kind of the point, right? So if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what your plans are for the coming year, or maybe what were your highlights from this past year. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.